Well, well, well. Greetings, faithful viewer. So glad you could finally find the time to join us. Where were you? Where were you when we needed you? I did my time. I did my part. But you! Oh, look what you've done. You've made the babies upset again. It's okay. Shh, it's okay. It's okay, Papa Choco's here. You want a video essay? You want your wow? Yeah, I'll give you a video essay. Shh, it's okay. Good baby. Oh, our precious babies. I was there for them. Day one, I was there for them. But you were nowhere to be found. Yes, it's the BioShock and BioShock Infinite of Disney animated movies. A sci-fi journey through the seas and a cyber pirate voyage through sky space. 20 years ago now, a little movie called
Treasure Planet
released to theaters when really it should have just aired on 4Kids because that's just about how many saw it. That's right, it was a tremendous box office bomb for a Disney animated feature that expertly blends two different worlds in more places than one. You got this mix of traditional 2D and 3D animation and the classic Treasure Island tale mixed with sci-fi elements, almost capturing this punk world that mixes cyber and steam and taking a familiar story and telling it in such a unique and emotionally impactful way. But none of you showed up. None of you. I was there. I saw it. I even saw Home on the Range. That's right, the cow movie. With Roseanne, in an empty theater looking like an utter fool. Today, Treasure Planet, for a movie that bombed financially, has become a cult classic, and by proxy, so has Disney's prior sci-fi feature, Atlantis. Another film that's kind of unexpected for Disney, that now gets lumped in the same breath with Treasure Planet constantly for all the similarities they share. It didn't bomb like Treasure Planet, but it was not a massive hit. Both feature a precocious, wide-eyed outcast desperate to prove the existence of some mythical place and maybe in the process prove themselves, as they get swept up in a grand adventure, forming relationships and bonds that were once vacant in their lives and ultimately almost sacrificing themselves through apocalyptic feats for the greater good of all. Both are visually striking, unique animated movies and just a little more grown up. They were pretty unconventional from your traditional Disney family flick, and now they're glued together inseparably in people's minds, and it's like it's not enough that these movies exist and are good and are readily available for streaming. No, somebody has to pay for this. People want more Treasure Planet and Atlantis in some way, I guess. Today, people bring up Treasure Planet more than they ever did when it was released. It had the great misfortune of coming out in the holiday 2002, where it was Eiffel Towered at the box office by the British, with James Bond and Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets. Like, god damn, it was just some tea, get over it. And if you were around at the time, you might remember the commercials for Treasure Planet alone were pretty bizarre. I remember as a kid having no idea what the hell this movie was really about. They would throw the goofy robot character, a character that doesn't show up until like the last third of the movie, front and center, and Morph, the pink goo ball, because he's cute.
Jim Hawkins.
We are so out of here!
Ben.
I've lost my mind.
And
What is that thing?
Ish Amor. On November 27th.
Go, Delbert! Go, Delbert! Brace yourself.
Three unlikely heroes are taking on the meanest cyborg in the universe.
Pirates on my ship! Oh, Mama. Get Mom!
Walt Disney Pictures presents Treasure Planet.
These were very desperate maneuvers that completely undersell what's a rather heartfelt adventure movie, and to be fair, it is difficult to quickly convey this weird sci-fi kind of steampunk pirate cartoon in 30 seconds or less to an audience that eats boogers. Oh yeah, and that brings us to Lilo and Stitch. Released that same year just 5 months earlier and was a massive success. The marketing was everywhere, people were quoting it left and right. Stitch, adorable, cute furball, is just a way easier character to market. He's the perfect blend of devious, gross, and cute. He's like if you crossed Bart Simpson with a puppy. It's a no-brainer how to sell this one really. It's a Hawaiian E.T. with a crass snot-nosed runt. Treasure Planet, though, it's a simple story, sure, but it just doesn't have that immediate hook to it that could draw children and families in such a packed blockbuster year. By the time Treasure Planet was coming out, every kid I knew was still talking about Lilo and Stitch. Barely anyone I knew had even heard of Treasure Planet. That's how buried it got. But it's their loss, because for everyone who did show up, the real Treasure Planet was the cyborg alien pirate dad we made along the way. Oh, it's got that smell still. Meet Jim Hawkins, a tubular wizard steampunk kid with a crazy haircut who's too cool for the rules because he doesn't have a dad. We learn he's extremely smart and proficient in technology, but deliberately rebelling while his poor mama is working to the bone to keep her small business afloat where she serves drinks to weird aliens.
Right there, Mrs. Dunwoody. Jim, I just don't want to see you throw away your entire future.
Yeah, what future?
Jim's completely directionless until an alien pirate crash lands with a wonder ball that reveals the location of the mythical treasure planet.
It's Treasure Planet. No. That's Treasure Planet.
So in a last-ditch effort to save his mom's inn after it gets destroyed by pirates, Jim sets off with his weird Susical-looking horny dogman friend named Delbert. We get this pretty cool transition shot where they head to this crescent moon spaceport thing, and I really like this sequence, where they showcase 2D characters on 3D backdrops, and I think that setting really makes it work well. For years, Disney had played around with mixing 2D and 3D elements, but never this extensively. And it was a pretty polarizing aspect to the movie when it first came out. Some thought it worked well, others thought it was jarring, and a lot of comparisons were drawn to Titan AE, a similar sci-fi animated box office bomb by Don Bluth that came out just a few years earlier, featuring similar animation techniques. And yes, I know what Titan AE is, all of you bring that up at the same time. In Treasure Planet, not every single shot works well, but once the adventure kicks off, that effect really does start to pop and create some incredible visuals with these bizarre aliens on this pirate sci-fi backdrop. That's another thing Treasure Planet really has going for it. They stuck with the pirate aesthetic so hard that space is just like this nebulous sky between worlds that they fly boats on, and it fucking rocks. No need to explain things with dumb techno babble or question why there's space whales. You still got some rules like artificial gravity and whatnot, otherwise the crew needs to be tied down, but they never lean too hard into the sci-fi. This is a pirate movie that happens to be wearing some space boots. Our characters hire a crew to take them on their voyage, and we're introduced to the badass Captain Cat Lady. We know she's badass because she first shows up doing a bunch of cool flips that give Dogbert a boner.
Right way up and plugged in. Lovely, there you go.
If you don't mind, I can manage my own plugging.
Oh, she's definitely gonna peg him.
I'd like a word with you in my stateroom. Doctor.
But the central core to Treasure Planet, the thing keeping this whole space boat afloat, is John Silver, the big belly alien pirate Borg. He's a pretty complex character for Disney, both in terms of writing and animation. He's the character where that blend of 2D and 3D really shine, and having that be a cyborg character with the robotic elements or CG is just genius. But he also serves as the antagonist for the majority of the movie, with him and his crew secretly undercover scheming to take over the ship and eventually reach Treasure Planet themselves. Jim is suspicious and Silver knows he's onto him, but over time they begin to grow a little closer and even begin to admire each other. You see, Jim never had a dad, you know? So maybe Big Belly Alien Pirate Papa could be his dad, you know? Thus we get Treasure Island meets Star Wars meets that scene from Fresh Prince and it's raw as hell.
How come you don't want me, man?
In most Disney films from this era, the emotional conflict and build-up usually centered around two characters that couldn't be together falling in love, maybe under false pretenses or some lie that gets exposed. And there's a bunch of drama, and then it's resolved, they love each other for who they are, and then they get to schmooze. But here what makes Treasure Planet so gutting and interesting is it's a father-son type bond that grows between the protagonist and the supposed bad guy. And since the villain is the one lying about who he is, it forms this unique, heartbreaking dynamic where Jim and the audience is left wondering just how much of the connection is really genuine. Even John Silver himself can't really quite tell just how attached he's grown to the boy. And rather than it being a musical, they sandwich this all in this beautiful montage with this early 2000s John Resnick song that slaps. I can't play it or else Disney will put out the hit on me, but just know, I love this scene. It's probably one of my favorite Disney things ever. We see flashbacks to Jim's childhood and his father running away, interwoven with him selling off with his big alien pirate papa. It cuts a lot closer to home for most people than you'd ever expect from any Disney animated film.
So, how'd that happen anyway?
You give up a few things. Chasing a dream.
Like, goddamn, Treasure Planet, this movie had no right going this hard. From here, the drama gets real spicy. They fly into a supernova and Jim's gotta tie everyone down, and that one rock man guy I got a Happy Meal toy of right before I saw the movie just gets murked right in front of me. And the crew frames the murder on Jim. Silver can't defend him or else they'll think he's getting soft on them, yeah right, busted. And Jim's heart gets shattered when he overhears what's going on, and the mutiny happens right as they reach Treasure Planet. That's when finally, after all this, they meet Ben, this heroin addict robot voiced by Martin Short.
That ain't accessible!
And
Reboot!
And you are? Wait, what about the treasure?
I want to say Larry.
For those unfamiliar, this character is meant to be a stand-in for Ben Gunn from the original story, who was stranded by his crew on Treasure Island for years. I think morphing that character into this rusty droid who's had his PS2 memory card ripped out of him is kind of clever, but his presence doesn't really add much. He feels like such a late addition or a producer's note. Like they said, damn, wait, this Pirates in Space movie might be too raw for kids, put a goofy robot in it. I don't know, fittingly this character that was abandoned is pretty forgettable. He's whatever, he's fine. So after surrendering the map, they find out Treasure Planet is actually this Stargate that can portal them to anywhere in the universe, with all the buried treasure being buried real deep in the planet's core. This trip's like a self-destruct, and through the use of some cool badass hoverboard tricks, they narrowly escape last minute. And what kind of feels out of place at first is before this, Silver and Jim don't really reconcile their differences before they almost all die. Silver does get his redemption when he chooses Jim over the treasure, but before that, there's no big apology or understanding between them until they all escape, and he's just like, "Yarg, I'm a fat rat bastard, what you gonna do, matey?" And you know what? I kinda like it this way. It feels a little more real, and when they finally do say their goodbyes, goddamn does it hit.
You're something special, Jim. You're going to rattle the stars, you are.
And look, I know a big bulk of the structure of how things play out with these characters is probably all laid out right there in the original text, and I could see how exactly these resolutions match up, but I didn't read it, okay? The only Treasure Island I was into before this started with the word Muppet. And if digesting this story meant changing it so it's about a bunch of pirate ships in sky space with a big belly alien pirate papa forming a connection with a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt, then so be it. Treasure Planet rocks. It's a wonderful movie, and I'm glad at least like 5 of those dollars are me. Which brings us to Atlantis, the Lost Empire, which I'm not going to go into as extensively, but I think mentioning one without the other is kind of impossible these days, since they're largely beloved for similar reasons, and because both didn't do so hot financially, it kind of paints this inaccurate picture of, yeah, we as an audience don't want this. Please don't experiment with different ideas and visuals, give us Bambi too. And I remember the first time re-watching Atlantis a few years back, I was kind of meh about it. I was like, yeah, that was alright, I guess. I didn't really see why people felt so strongly about it, especially since I felt Treasure Planet was so much more impactful. And now, I don't know what I was on. The sense of adventure in Atlantis is fantastic. The diverse side characters are a lot of fun even with their limited screen time, and I just love the central concept of this lost mythical city in stasis that a ragtag group of early 20th century folk drill their way into. I'm also a sucker for a lanky nerd main character has to fight much stronger, ruthless military Chip Hazard man and gets his ass kicked, only being defeated by being infected with Atlantean AIDS. I think really the only weak aspect to the film for me, where Treasure Planet really has it beat, is the emotional core to the story. It's just a little lacking, and it's largely due to the fact that they're cramming so much into 90 minutes. In the opening, we learn Milo is a loner who's ridiculed by society for his belief in Atlantis, a mythical place that his late grandfather researched and desperately tried to prove was real. Nobody wants to fund or entertain Milo's research or expeditions, and they shut that shit down. And the very next scene, Milo is brought to an old man who's like, yeah, I knew your grandfather. He was right all along. Atlantis is real. We built a submarine to go to it. You're coming with us and we're leaving tomorrow. And all this is told to us in like a few seconds without, I don't know, any real sense of impact or gravity. Milo just kind of gets his golden ticket to the chocolate factory in a matter of one scene, and to me, the movie's emotionally flat for those first 30 or 40 minutes. We do get this very brief moment of reflection with Milo reminiscing about his grandfather that's nice, and we're told about how his grandpappy too was a social outcast, but it's never really shown. I'm all for leaving some things to the imagination, but I think it would have helped to have seen some of that in some way. Treasure Planet wisely opens with a scene of Jim as a kid learning about Treasure Planet, and we get some backstory of how his father abandoned them. It makes Jim's motivations and emotions clear. I really feel like Atlantis should have opened with something similar. And I get there's only so much an animated Disney film about a lost city of Atlantis with mystical ancient technology that keeps their people immortal through crystals that could potentially unleash apocalyptic doom, only halted by the sacrifice of royal blood and the power that humans foolishly want to exploit and harvest as an energy source can fit in 90 minutes. But I do wish they at least briefly dug a little deeper into Milo's backstory so his journey would resonate with us a little more emotionally. That's all I'm saying. Otherwise, you got this really fun, breathtaking journey with great characters, and who doesn't love Vinny? Like, come on.
And I'm gonna think of you guys every single day. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday till 2. Sunday, I'm gonna take Sunday off probably, and maybe I'll go in for a couple hours, you know. But August. I'm gonna take August.
The backdrops, the visuals in this movie are so goddamn beautiful. At the very least, both Treasure Planet and Atlantis undeniably share that. And because Disney has really been going all in on the trend of turning their animated catalog into the cinematic equivalent of dehydrated meals, people have been clamoring for live-action remakes of Atlantis and Treasure Planet. Yeah, I don't know. Do you really want that? I mean, with the Disney live-action remakes, people either say they're pointless because they're just stiff, soulless versions of animated classics, or they're pointless because they change too much to the point where it isn't enough like the source material, so I don't know. Which is it? Either way, it's gonna suck. I guess the thing with Treasure Planet and Atlantis is that they look cool, these environments and characters look cool, so maybe in live action that could be cool too, but do we really need to see these characters in live action when animation already pulled them off so well? Do we really need to strip them of all their charm and fluidity? I don't think either of these movies have anything to gain by forcing them into some live action $300 million budget sci-fi flick, which historically for Disney tends to flop hard. I think people saying Treasure Planet and Atlantis deserve a remake is just another way for people to say, hey, remember Treasure Planet and Atlantis? I do. You better too! Because it is sad that they initially went under the radar and in Treasure Planet's instance bombed, but like damn, I bet the same thing is gonna happen in that Strange World movie coming out.
You give up a few things, chasing a dream.
These two movies hold up as they are, sing their praises to the heavens or sea to shining sea, but they don't need no live action remakes they're just gonna hate anyway. Isn't that right, my precious babies?
Dude, what the heck are you doing? Yeah, we're like 20 years old.
They grow up so fast.
I can't stay mad at you. Tell you what, let's have another. I'll see you in 20 years' time when I finally review Strange World. Till then, thanks for watching.